Hi, welcome to the first show of 2017. John Dave and myself are going to look back over Leinster's victory against Ulster last weekend, all the other Pro 12 stuff, and look forward to our matches next weekend as well. So boys, it's kind of a game of two halves.
Brian.
Game of two halves, Brian. 22-7 against Ulster, but it looked like we were well on course for the bonus point, but unfortunately didn't.
Yeah, I actually watched it again, and I was probably a little bit more impressed with Leinster on the second watch rather than seeing it live. I was bitterly disappointed in the ground that we didn't get to bonus point, as I'm sure was everybody in the coaching and playing staff in Leinster. Because we had it on the plate 42 minutes, you've 38 minutes to score a try against a team that were up to that point looking barely interested. So, fair play to Ulster, they came back into it, but they couldn't score a try until they finally got rid of the experiment of Pienaar at 10, put him at 9. And
he was more problem with Stuart Marshall at 9 than Pienaar at 10.
That's true as well, but he threw a beautiful pass for Piatau for the try. Now look, pass off a scrum, which was absolutely stunning, but he has played some good games at 10 for Ulster and the Springboks, but not in a long time, and it showed. He's really rusty there, he doesn't think like a 10 anymore.
No, that's true. I think kind of the game was symbolic of the whole Christmas period. I mean, we went into the game, into the whole period, the two matches with a certain amount of hope.
Yeah.
And ultimately we ended up, you have to say, disappointed. I mean,
2 points dropped at least.
There were 10 points available. 8 was achievable. Now, that's everything going well. 8 was achievable. 6 was certainly gainable. I would suggest that 5 was the bare minimum that was acceptable. We ended up with 4.
Yeah, well, the other thing about that is that if
we also conceded a bonus point. We gave a team that was ahead of us a further kick away, So, 4 points out of 10 with one of those teams taking a bonus point off us was very disappointing.
Perhaps with the benefit of hindsight, we could have spread our top players across both games a little bit more.
I'm surprised more teams didn't do that. I mean, we have resources in the deal. Okay, there's a lot of guys are injured at the moment, but still within our, you're bringing in guys that have been capped subsequently. Do you know what I mean?
I'm in no doubt that basically the 4 provincial coaching staffs were told, you can play your guys at home.
I don't know whether they were told that or whether they decided to do that. Whatever.
But do you think it's a good idea to have done it? Certainly for Leinster.
With hindsight, no for Leinster.
I think with foresight, no either.
What we could have done was not disturb the combinations so much. So we could have kept combinations together in, say, the front row, or because we split Jack McGrath and we had Sean Cronin and Jack McGrath in that game, and we had Tyke Furlong in the other game. If we'd have kept the front row together maybe for one of the games, and then kept a second row, kept combinations that worked, and especially halfbacks. I suppose we did with the halfbacks because we had no choice.
Strong selections at home. Strong selections at home protect the gate.
Yeah, but then they brought down, they obviously are weakened with injuries and at the moment, but they also brought, they did bring down Robbie Henshaw to Munster.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah, Robbie Henshaw and Tyke Furlong were the two.
Yeah, and Cian Healy, you could argue as well, is there and thereabouts. If they, especially for a front row, they're going to rotate those guys around an awful lot.
It's hard. For example, the things we missed was, didn't we rest Luke McGrath for the Munster game? And that would have been, he was the ideal guy for that Munster game, a bit of rough and tumble. And I think that was possibly one of our biggest misses. The players we missed in that Munster game. We could have, of course, we could have done it differently. It's easier with hindsight. You say it was easy with foresight. Yeah.
But see,
you would have thought Joe Schmidt, for example, would have blended those two teams a bit better.
But if you look at the two performances,
Joe Schmidt didn't have to work for Joe Schmidt.
But the two disappointing things about those two matches was the second half performances within both games. Like the first half down in Munster, if you minus out the last 2 minutes of the half,
it was a good
and Simon Zebo, as we mentioned on our audio show last week, had a bit of magic. Like, I mean, very
But
few
you
players
have
in the
to- you
world
have
have
to-
scored that try yet. So if you take that out of the equation, we were going in at half time down in Thomond Park leading. Likewise, we go in 17-0 up at half time against Ulster, come out within a few
Score a
minutes,
try.
score a try, you're 22-0 up. You think, well, God, this could be an embarrassment for us.
You have to assume that. I mean, we played very well down in Munster, particularly in that first half. We played very well on Saturday in that first half. Was it Saturday? It was Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And in that first half, right? But you've got to assume, especially when you're playing teams the quality of Munster and Ulster, that they're going to have a period where they start to get things right, and that's when you have to play yourself out of that and knock them back down. And we weren't able to do that either time. Both times when the opposition came back at us, we weren't able to ultimately repel them.
Well, we did a lot of repelling with Ulster. I mean,
Yeah, we did a lot of,
76
no, we did a lot of
minutes.
tackling, did a lot of defending, but we weren't able to turn the game back around again. We didn't have that, whether it's physical ability, which I doubt. We didn't have the nous on the field. We literally didn't have the nous on the field to turn the game back around
Our
again.
kicking game was a bit poor in that second half. That's, I think, for me, our kicks were too long and didn't find grass. That was a huge thing. Gibson Park put a lot of them in. You know, everybody did really. And it was, I think, there was a kick out in the full as well. That was carried back in. That was Kirshner. You know, the kicking game was, because the possession was all ours in the first. It must have been 80% or something in the first half. In the second half, we couldn't get the bloody ball for love of the money. I don't think we had the ball in their 22.
But,
in the
but
second
worryingly, like Ulster just aren't really a good side, and well, didn't function anyway with Pinar at 10. But they don't like.
Marshall at 9.
The amount of possession that they did have in the second half, they did really very little with the exception of when Pinar moved in at 9 and then
here's the
Piatau got that.
They have two players in that back line. That's all they had. They had Pinar and they had Piatau.
Yeah.
Tommy Bowe had
Bit of a
Tommy Bowe had a
shocker, yeah.
shocker. He dropped one right in front of us. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, he dropped it,
Yeah.
and it was a clear try. And then one hit him in the face, and he just had that kind of day. But McCloskey, you can see.
Kluski's a bit limited
If
though.
anybody wants to ask, why Joe Schmidt doesn't pick him in Irish squads, just show him that game. He can do one thing. I mean, when you're getting
Very hard.
and the thing is, he was supposed to be carrying hard at Noel Reid, who's supposed to be the defensive weak point. He didn't look it.
Not
No,
anymore,
really.
He didn't
yeah.
look it. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, I mean, Ulster could have, like, if Pinar had got those two kicks, and if Tommy Bowe had held on to that ball, that was 11 points that they kind of coughed up. That would have made a match very interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It might have been better for Leinster if they had got those in a way, because I think that would have kept things focused, and it would have
Perhaps.
meant, I don't know, it's two games where we let the team, where the opposition came back into it, which happens in every game, but we weren't able to reassert ourselves, right? And my worry is what happens when that happens against Montpellier.
well, I think, you know, Sexto's due back for a run out,
He was due back against Ulster.
allegedly.
Well, he was
And he was
there.
due back against
He
Ulster.
was due back all the time, fine. But let's say, for the sake of
Week 2
argument, that he actually makes it back this week. Having him against Montpellier will be a huge difference, because a lot of what we're doing is, you know, we've got.
But the other side of that, John,
We've got-
sorry, John, the other side of that is, what if he's as good against Montpellier as Rob Kearney was against Connacht in the Pro 12 final last year?
Yeah, well,
You know, I mean, we're the sacrificial altar upon which these lambs are being tested.
No, he's
think
got
so.
Zebre to shine.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The thing about it is, like, you know, there were women giving birth to our backline. Just about, we're very close to having people giving birth to the backline that was going out. I mean, they're all. Isa was the old man of the backline. The next oldest person is Noel Reid, who's what, 25 or so. The rest are all under 25.
Yeah.
And especially for a halfback at 10. I mean, he's come on immensely, Ross Byrne, but he's not going to be able to control a big European game the way Johnny Sexton would. And to have him back would be absolute. And to have Byrne on the bench as well to close out the game would be absolutely huge. If we don't, I'd be very worried about us against Montpellier without Sexton.
But we did score 3 lovely tries. I mean, we've been a bit negative towards the.
Yeah.
I mean, the first 42 minutes,
I wouldn't be
minutes were as
negative.
good as we've seen all season.
And the second 40, well, we did have a lot of penalties against us. You know, so did Ulster in the first half. Having possession keeps you away from
That was one thing
giving up
actually that
penalties.
really annoyed me, was how stupid we were. I watched, just to get into the vibe for the match, I watched the Pro 12 final against Ulster.
That's right.
Before the match. And if you remember, that game was marked by monumental stupidity on the part of Ulster in not playing the ref.
Yeah.
Right? John Lacey doesn't want any contest to break down, and he operates a narrow gate. He does it every single match. And what were we doing? We were coming in from the side, we were flopping on, we were getting hands on, all the stuff that's guaranteed to really piss off John Lacey.
Yeah. Well, I was away, but I only saw the match on YouTube, and I was obviously the Sky commentary, and they were interviewing a few of the Leinster lads on the sideline. There was no complaint about what the penalties were for.
Yeah.
Like, they were blatant penalties. They were just concerned that Leinster.
Jack McGrath card was harsh.
Okay, maybe so, but he was off his feet.
Yeah, and it was.
Just.
I mean, he was off his feet.
Like, you're
It's fine.
you're off your feet, and he was off his feet. Maybe it was harsh.
Especially for, sorry, but maybe it was, no,
close
in
to
a way,
the line.
but for a ref like Lacey, who's very hot, that's his hot button topic.
And
you know?
perhaps, I mean, he might have been warned, or the team might have been warned previously to this that it wasn't picked up on the TV mic. You know,
Perhaps.
like, we don't know. And maybe he was just getting fed up with penalising Leinster for the 8th or 9th time in quick succession.
Well, you notice Stevie Ferris was giving out yards at half time about Ulster, and mostly rightly so. I mean, it's obviously the thing he focuses on because he's such a physical player himself. So when he sees Ulster going out, he lambasted them in Edinburgh as well for something similar. And, you know, he's right. But when we were having our bad period in the second half, we were still making our tackles, we were still going in hard, weren't lacking commitment, we were perhaps lacking direction, but we weren't lacking.
Oh no, I agree with you entirely. I mean, it was all about just we just lost the direction. We were directionless in that second half. I mean, to a certain extent, okay, Ulster got their try, but they could still be there and they wouldn't have got a second one.
No.
You know, they were
But
completely dominated.
But if we were playing, and like say, you know, last week we played against, which probably just it shows the ranking or the order of the Irish teams. Munster are a far better team than Ulster. That they were able to capitalise. Admittedly, the match was in Thomond rather than an away match for Ulster, but they were able to make hay while Ulster had loads of possession and really couldn't turn it into points.
I keep saying it, and I said it, and I'll say it again. That Ulster team has been on the downhill slope since 2012. And instead of trying to fix it, or instead of trying to rebuild it, they patched it up. And even the patches are coming apart at the seams now.
Well, their pack is just.
It's shocking. I was talking to an Ulster fan, sorry Jason, I was talking to him, I'm always cutting across him, I'm just a bastard. I was
If you
talking
never shut up and let a brother get a word in, you know.
That's true. I was talking to an Ulster fan in the Horseshoe House afterwards who was trying to blame everything on Kiss. You know, he was saying, "Oh yeah, it's Les Kiss. She hasn't a clue." He had, you know, well, you know, the team wasn't much better under Doe.
Exactly, I was about to say that, and I go back and it's Humphreys and it was
Humphreys and it was McLaughlin.
It's the team, guys. It's the team.
Yeah.
You know, even Les Kiss, who's generally touted by fellas like Bod at being, you know, okay, not as a head coach perhaps, but you know, he obviously is having a hard time keeping Doak and Clark in check because he's been saddled with them.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, he wouldn't have brought them into the thing. So I think perhaps there is something wrong with the coaching setup, and I don't know which of the three. You know, perhaps all of them have some kind of a bearing on it, but there's something in that team that's, like you say, that's not right.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
we got off to a nice start.
A lovely start.
Wow.
O'Loughlin is
Poetry in motion.
Yeah.
This was a superb try.
And this is the thing of beauty, it really was.
And wrong-footed Pienaar stepped Andrew Trimble and then
outpaced.
beat Marshall for pace. Like, what a...
I have no time for Paul Marshall as a player, as you may have guessed. But one thing he does have is serious gas. And O'Loughlin just cruised around him there.
There's 4 Michaels guys in that back line.
Yeah. And they're all so young.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, there's an awful lot of inexperience. Like, it just goes to show what's coming through.
A BlackRock guy said to me on Saturday that those aren't numbers on their back; those are their IQs. But I think that was a BlackRock Michaels kind of thing. This guy has been all season, Jason. He's been one of the most impressive players in the entire squad.
He took his
Lovely
try
arc
really
Yeah.
well.
for the try as well.
He has a lovely swerve. He really does. He has a lovely way of getting outside a player.
But you think, like, even, you know, he was so far down the pecking order at the start of the season when before
the
before
pre-season
Luke
games.
Fitzgerald we had to call it a day, and likewise with the guy who came back from Leicester,
Well, Morris.
Yeah.
Niall Morris. Then you have the Carney
Carney
brothers,
getting injured, Fergus
He
McFadden
had-
out.
and he's just grabbed his opportunity.
Yeah,
like-
that's it. Yeah,
and-
he'd
and
been
that's it.
unfortunate in the academy with injuries. But as you
Like
say,
Adam
he
Burke
took
on the other wing.
yeah, he saw that opportunity.
Yeah.
He got his opportunity in that, and he got it
But
again.
like
And he just grabbed
that's
it.
his fourth try for Leinster since he's come into the team, and
Pretty
okay, I
awesome.
don't expect him to retain his place. If we get to a quarter final of the European Cup, but it's great to have
Oh.
that pressure on whoever the guy is going to come in on the wing. Like he's keeping out a Springbok.
Hold on a minute, who's ahead of him?
I would.
Oh, for the big games, I'd say.
I'd say for the big games, you got to go with the guys who's played for Ireland
Isa and Rob Carney.
and his brother Dave Carney.
Yeah.
I would say.
and Adam Byrne. I'd say those are the. I'd say it's three from those. I'd say it's three from the latter two, or two from the latter three. I'd say it's Isa, Dave Carney, and Adam Byrne. But he's there.
He's
He's
well
put
there.
his, I mean, people will say, "Oh, it's a pity about Rory O'Loughlin," because whereas 6 months ago people would have gone, "Okay,
Rory
who?
who?
Rory,
Yeah.
he is tailor made for a 23 jersey in the
No,
same way
absolutely, yeah.
Fergus McFadden was
Yeah.
7 or 8 years ago, because he can play on the wing, he can play in the centre, and he can do both to a very high level.
I'll tell you, it'd be great. It'd be interesting to see what happens because Dave Carney had been in great form before he got injured. For the last 18 months, Dave Carney's story has been great form, injury, great form, injury,
Well,
great form, injury.
He
So
wasn't
it'd be
in
interesting
great
to see-
form to keep those guys in.
Yeah, and the thing is, Dave Carney doesn't deserve his place anymore. He has to work to get it. Because as things stand, he's going to have to work to take Adam Byrne out of that jersey, for example. You know?
Well, I love moves like this one that McGrath got.
Oh yeah.
It just shows such ingenuity. Lineouts can be, you can practice them till the cows come home, but something like this takes a lot of smarts to pull off.
This is a Hannibal Smith try. I
It's-
love it when a plan comes
Yeah.
together.
Well, I think it was originally Justin Marshall that brought this over from Canterbury, and the Ospreys used to do it a lot when he was with them.
Did they not go to the back and then throw it down to the middle?
Well, whatever they did, they tried to create a gap
Oh yeah, yeah.
in a line out for him to run through, and they did score a few tries of it. We have used it over the years as well ourselves, and that was a beautiful execution. The way the second rows pulled
The,
back,
the transfer
to create
from McGrath there is just superb.
But I love Sean Cronin's
There.
reaction because that's something that they must practice probably every time they do lineouts.
Yeah.
And they probably
Was
never ever get a chance to call it in a game. And
it
when
was
they
lovely
do,
quick hands from McGrath too.
Yeah.
I mean, all the elements are pinpoint
Yeah.
accurate, and the timing has to be. The way the second rows, I think it was Triggs they lifted,
Yeah.
and they all moved back and created that little gap, and Jack McGrath did the.
Triggs and his pod of lifters have to sell it. You know?
They've got to sell it. Sean Cronin has to hit Jack McGrath without a crooked throw. Jack McGrath has to swing around really quickly, and your man has to run the angle just right, and all the timing of that has
and
to be.
going back to our day when we used to play, a prop catching a ball from 5 yards away in a lineout
Was it
never
the-
really
The
happened.
difference,
Prop catching a ball.
the difference is
You
they
can stop
practice.
there.
That was the difference in Ireland. But it was nice to see it. It's always nice to show that something that they would have worked their head really hard on the training ground to put it onto the pitch.
It shows the confidence that they have as well.
This was all about. This wasn't training ground. This was.
That's another one of those ones where Ross Byrne, who did it in Northampton, did it against Ulster. So, they're putting a few moves together. They obviously have a bit of telepathy there between them, That was beautiful to see it, and Loughlin's great finisher, isn't he?
Was Ringrose ahead of the kicks?
Didn't see that.
It doesn't really matter.
It didn't, but
I don't care at this stage.
If he doesn't interfere with the player, then he can.
you might have taken the guy out. Just have a look.
That's an old the wall read.
No, I
No.
think he was okay there.
Fine. Charles Piatow gets himself
He does.
in no man's land.
Yeah.
This is-
There's a classy player though. He just
Oh yeah, no, he's an
you could
excellent
see by his demeanour that he was pissed off being in an Ulster
He's not
team.
right anyway. Doesn't matter.
He was pissed off being in an Ulster
It was
team
really nice of the
that
Leinster
were
players though to
playing
give
so
him loads of opportunities to show what he could do by
True.
kicking the ball straight to him repeatedly.
Yeah. It was a miracle he didn't score more often. He just has that, he can just skip away from players. There was a couple of parts of the game where he literally just skipped away from 2-3 players and left them looking silly trying to tackle him. You know, so.
Well, just going back to what we were talking about there about the return of the Carneys. Darren Mulligan asked the question, and with the emergence of Adam Byrne and Rory O'Loughlin, should the Carneys be concerned?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they should. Not so much Rob. I think Dave certainly, because these are guys who have thrown their name live. Everyone should be concerned. You know, there's a bunch of guys from 12 through 15. We'll say there's a lot of jockeying for all those places. You know, between Henshaw, Ringrose, No Reed, O'Loughlin,
Even when
Byrne.
even when Carberry comes back,
Carberry.
you could even shift
Yeah,
that one. You
yeah.
know.
There's a lot of jockeying going to be going on for those positions.
Well, we've had a few seasons where we've brought through a lot of forwards, and now all of a sudden we're starting to bring through a lot of backs.
And we were
falling out of the trees.
asking questions. You know, where is this production line that we were supposed to have?
Yeah.
And, well, we see it
Here
now.
it
It's
is.
And
coming
there's
through.
other. You see, I always think that the guys who the previous class, if you like, were good but weren't quite good enough. I think this class is good enough, and I think the next class is good enough. I just think that there was a slight little dip in terms of the backs. In forwards there wasn't, and indeed forwards are still coming.
Look, I think there's a philosophy within the club now, and I think it was kind of epitomised by we don't have a clip of it, but when Sean O'Brien made the break and kind of he had two guys left and right of him, and he chose to take the contact. But if you go back maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 phases before that, we were running the ball from our 22. There was fantastic hands both between forwards and back, And there was a philosophy within the club now to move the ball. Rather, a couple of seasons ago,
Kick
it
it.
was go
Kick
through
it.
a couple of phases and kick it and get the ball, make the opposition make a mistake in their 22 or in their half. Whereas now, we're willing to take a chance and run from our 22.
In fairness, the game, I mean, Joe Schmidt was playing that way as well. The game was kind of
That
gone that
was
way.
the game.
So, you know, it really has
Well,
changed. It
it's
was
a
the World
philosophy.
Cup changed that philosophy.
Well, I know, but Connacht kind of bought into it very quickly. I mean, they just didn't start doing it after the World Cup last year.
That's true.
Glasgow were also doing it.
That's true as well.
And I'm glad to see that rugby has changed it because it was becoming a very quite boring game, to be honest with you. I thought, like, just kick it in the air. And obviously
Still is in France.
Well, exactly, yeah. But I mean, we're Irish, and we're from Leinster. That's who we're going to support those teams regardless of how.
There was a
a
slight change to the law at the breakdown that made a huge difference. Because it made it harder to retain the ball, which meant that you had to use the ball quickly. It did make a big difference. In terms of that Sean O'Brien thing, one thing I noticed when I watched it back is Pienaar makes an incredible covering run to get between O'Brien and I think it's O'Loughlin outside him. It's just, I mean, I didn't actually realise the guy could run that fast
He
still.
cut down the options.
Yeah, he
for
really,
O'Brien
really
there,
did.
because
But O'Brien should have given it even sooner.
he should have given it, but
Wait, see, here's the thing: if O'Brien gives it sooner,
outside, so-
Piatow takes O'Loughlin. If O'Brien literally between Piatow and Pienaar, that was actually a super piece of defence. It really was.
Yeah, and because he had options either side, that also gave him a bit of hesitation because if he'd one option, he might have passed, but he had to think about which way he was going.
Yeah.
It looked like O'Loughlin was the best, going outside rather than inside was the best way to go. Would have given him a few more options, but hey.
Yeah, but O'Loughlin probably should have cut inside. And
Well, he might have if he got the ball.
No, but I mean before you should have come inside, and then it would have been 2-on-1 on the inside. On the inside, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that result, it keeps us in third. Unfortunately, we only got 4 points from it, and it knocks Ulster down to 6th. So they have a bit of work to do if they want to get up into the playoffs.
The resurgence of the Welsh teams combined with Ulster's falling off a cliff has made a big difference this year.
And without wanting to get too far ahead of ourselves into part 2, it's they have to go over to the Scarlets next week, so they've an ideal
Wouldn't fancy that.
chance to right their wrongs.
Yeah. So one of the other matches of the weekend was Connacht losing at home. It was the only, match that the home team didn't win of the set of Interpros. Connacht were beaten 9 points to 16 by Munster. But Connacht have huge injury concerns. I mean, there's even more at it. Ulton Delan, there's talk of him missing out in a couple of the Six Nations games.
He may be back for the second or third round.
Yeah.
But I mean, Connacht tried to bring in an injury joker, of course, and they weren't allowed
Whereas Munster are.
with their 9.
That's been confirmed now, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yeah.
You'd have to say that a couple of things. Munster don't have too many injuries, is one thing. They also
Don't have too many Irish players.
have a lot of NIQs, but they also have quite a lot of depth all of a sudden. And I know, you're going to say there's 9 NIQs in that depth. They do have quite a bit of depth, and they could afford to send a fairly decent looking team over to Galway, especially considering the state of poor El Pat Lamb's injury list. So they were. I mean, we all said when we saw the team. I think it was in the episode last week actually when we saw the team that could be a tough match for Connacht, and so it proved. But it was still, they were fighting.
Connacht were actually very good.
They were good, and they were fighting out till the end. But
I mean, considering how
Munster were too
limited their
smart for
selection
them.
was, yeah.
Munster were just too smart for them, and they had a bit of depth and they had a bit of bench that Connacht didn't, So.
They got munched in the scrums, Connacht looked very strong in the scrum.
Mm.
They're turning Finlay Bealham into a good player.
Yeah, and he can play both sides, which is.
And they've added just in terms of other dispatches. I don't know if we mentioned last week. Nathan White has joined as member of the coaches.
Coach or something.
Just in general, I think he's there as a general coach, because they lost a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's. I mean, it's nice to see him still
Still
gainfully employed in the Irish system, because I think he has a lot of knowledge that you wouldn't want to lose out of it. But it was very difficult for Connacht, and very, very difficult situation.
And they are in Barba. We think we've out half problems. They have some serious ones there, and I don't think there's anyone left. Like your friend, the reserve scrum half, has got to go into out half.
Yeah, Quaylen Blade.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah. And of course, it didn't help when Munster were supposed to be down to 13 players and actually didn't bother with taking the players off the pitch. The rules of Irish rugby don't really apply to Munster.
Well, in fairness, I only saw that game in the pub, and there was a soccer match on the television in front of me, and the rugby match on down the back of the pub, and I had a few pints on me, so I wouldn't have, and I couldn't hear the sound, so
Your Honour.
I wouldn't have been too closely watching it, but it looked like, from my limited one-eyed viewing, it looked that Munster just did enough to win. They were just too smart.
But some of the other
too much power.
Some of the other
Too many
results.
players.
Too many players.
Literally.
Newport were beaten, no surprise, I suppose, at home though to the Ospreys 10-0.
Yeah, I watched that game.
Ospreys are mounting again.
Because I enjoy watching games in Rodney Parade, but the pitch was Jesus. It was like something from Rugby Special. It really was.
Luckily for me, I started watching that game about an hour after it started, so I was able to fast forward through. I'd say about
To the quagmires.
80% of it. The pitch is a disgrace.
Yeah.
Like it's
It was
shocking.
rotten, like it really
And
was.
I think they played soccer. Did they play soccer? Or,
Newport County played the day before.
Yeah, and then the following
Imagine how
day.
good that match was then.
And the following day.
I think the words Newport County sums that up.
I think Newport RFC, who play in the Welsh Premiership, were playing on it the following day, or over that weekend as well. So it was really getting the hockey.
They need a 4G pitch there.
They really do. They need investors. One thing, they need a bit of talent, and they're up for sale officially by the WRU, and they're looking for people to.
We have a whip round.
They could become our 5th province. Yeah. Well, that result anyway moves. Keeps Ospreys in second. They're on 44 points. By dent, they're same wins as us, 9 wins out of 12, but because of the bonus point situation, they've got the lead on us.
Our defence has been very poor this season so far. Only the bottom 3 have conceded more tries than us. Just noticed that, because I was looking up the points and I think for this, I noticed that only the bottom 3 have, from a season that we actually, our defence, our points conceded isn't actually that high. It's one of the better ones. It's just that we conceded a lot of tries. We're not conceding a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
But sorry, it's something that struck me when I was looking at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the other result
But we scored a lot.
The other result that sort of stands out for me is Glasgow beating Treviso. Not so much that result, but
scraping home against Treviso.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
is the accurate phrase.
Yeah, I don't know.
Glasgow's they're up to 5th at the moment.
They did, yeah.
I saw the sequence of events, and they had to score their try in injury time, or close to injury time.
But they kind of flattered to deceive this season. They've been poor in some games and really, really good in others.
Yeah, you'd hope they would be right for the taking at the right time of the season.
There's a certain amount of.
When they come to the RDS.
I think they don't know what they're doing or where they're going. There's a little
I
bit of
guess
an
maybe
identity
with
crisis there with Townsend
and
moving on.
new coach, and there's also probably the players are kind of going, well,
Yeah.
I don't know where I stand with the. But like just looking back over the Christmas period of the Pro 12 matches, like there was 4 Irish fixtures and 65,000 people went to those matches, which is
Pretty awesome.
pretty
Not bad, not bad
impressive.
at all. Let's see the RDS so full.
Yeah.
And even at some of the other matches, like there was 21,000 in Murrayfield for the Edinburgh Glasgow match on I think was it Stevens Day,
Yeah.
and there was 19,000 at the Ospreys against Scarlets. Like
Yeah,
it's
that
been-
was pretty much a sellout. Yeah.
Yeah.
so like
Very rare.
it's very positive to see those attendances and to see not so many empty seats in the grounds.
Numbers are up in Wales and Ireland and down in Scotland and Italy so far this season, allegedly.
The
I went over to the Leinster Glasgow match
Mm.
and the place was rocking.
Well,
It was, I have to say, the atmosphere that they had generated there was like, and I'd been over to twice before to watch. Once was a year, actually both were Heineken Cup matches. One was about 10 years ago, one was about 5 years ago, and the difference was.
you've been to 3 different grounds.
3 different grounds,
Yeah.
yeah. And the difference has been, seismic
Right,
change. And even speaking to some of the Glasgow supporters, they're far more organised. It kind of reminds me so much of Leinster 8 years
There you
ago.
go, yeah.
Like they got their equivalent of the OLSC going. They have a special section if you want to get involved and get mouthy and sing songs and so on. If you want to bring your kids, don't go there. Do you know kind of way? Like they have a nice bar facility afterwards. Like I was very impressed with it. Like, and they have a nice pitch now that they can play.
it's true, yeah. Good
Well, I thought they were
14
going to
pitch,
play
suit them.
running rugby, but
Well, they are limited by the size of their ground capacity wise, and Edinburgh are limited by the quality of the rugby. So that's
But
possibly why.
but I like.
the number-
Well,
They
Edinburgh are
have
about to
seven-
enter a new era
In Myerside,
Myerside. So
But they have 7,000 capacity in Glasgow, which they're not.
Sold out quite a bit.
It
though.
is, but like that's what you want. You want
Yeah.
the sold out signs outside. That it becomes.
hard to
I
get
mean,
in,
look
yeah.
what happened as we've mentioned loads of times up in Limerick, like where there's a stadium.
scarcity, there's no commodity
there's a
value.
stadium that's like a third or a fourth of size of the entire population of the city.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, and if it's a Friday night game, sure, no one can get there.
and that's it.
With the state of the roads over there.
you have to take into account that sometimes you do need to you do need to create a kind of a commodity value on a ticket. It's like I've said it before and I'll say it again. When there's always biscuits in the tin, what's the point of biscuits? You have to make it rare. You have to make it an achievement going to. You have to make it something special to go to whether it's Stone Park or Myerside or the RDS or Scottstown. So Glasgow seem to have got the right size for them at this point in time. Now, whether that will need revisiting or the ground will need redeveloping, that's another issue. But right now they're doing right, and I think that they have been the inspiration behind Edinburgh moving. Because Edinburgh seen we're in the, everybody knew that Edinburgh were rattling around in that elephant's graveyard of a ground, and it was soulless and it was destroying. It was so destroying for the players and the coaching staff as well. No matter how well they did, they were always going to be playing in front of an empty stadium. So if they moved to a ground that's more compact, we saw it before when they moved to Megaland that time, that it became a much more visceral experience, and the players responded. Hopefully now when they move to Myerside, the same thing will happen, only not against us
Well, we
boys,
won't have to go there for
next year.
till next year. Yeah.
boys, thanks very much, and please join us in the second half. Thanks so much.